Bounces may not be the most utilitarian rocket jumping technique, but they do have their place. Learning how to do bounce jumps will help explain some weird things you see in other places such as pogo. If you become proficient, you'll be able to hit those satisfying B-hop marker gardens. Bounce jumps will also occasionally show up in jump maps, so it's good to be prepared to do the right technique on demand. Bounces are performed by hitting the ground precisely timed with a jump or rocket. The setups for bounces on teleporting surfaces are extremely precise down to the hammer unit. For that reason, it's important to know exactly what affects your height during a jump, so the bounce you're trying for is possible in the first place. To do the first jump and bounce, you need to jump off and then crouch. You can't simply walk off, and you can't press crouch before you press jump. The rocket is shot just a little bit before I hit the ground. This is so that the rocket has time to get to the ground before I do. You can tell if your rocket is a little bit early or late based on whether you see a damage indicator. If you don't see your damage indicator, you shot a little bit late, because you hit the ground and teleported away before your rocket was able to hit the ground. If you do see a damage indicator, but you don't get the bounce, that means that you shot a little bit early. Your rocket hit the ground and damaged you before you hit the ground. The second jump in the course is a bounce hop. This means that you jump off of the ground without even touching the teleport trigger. You do this by jumping the first moment that you possibly can when you hit the ground. If you jump a little bit too early, then you won't actually be on the ground, so your jump input won't do anything. If you're a little bit late, then you'll get teleported back to the top, and then you'll see yourself jump, but you won't be jumping on the ground, you'll be jumping back up at the top. The third jump is a lot like the first, in that you'll be holding crouch and shooting a rocket. The key difference is that you'll want to press crouch before pressing jump. You can see that I'm ducking just a little bit before I'm pressing jump. That sets me up at a different height than if I were to have jumped and then afterwards hold crouch. Make sure to jump when you're partially crouched, because if you're fully crouched and try to jump, nothing will happen. Hitting your head on the ceiling can be used to set up bounce heights too. Here you see I do a rocket jump to hit the ceiling, strafe over to the platform I want to do a bounce off of, and while holding crouch, shoot a rocket at the platform just like the first and third jumps in the map. To set up the height for this next bounce, simply walk off the platform. Unlike the previous bounces in the map, you don't actually hold crouch until after you shot your first rocket. Your first rocket just hits you uncrouched, and then you pogo across. This next jump uses the hardest type of bounce covered in the course, a power bounce. To execute a power bounce, you do a bounce hop, which is the second jump in the course, plus you do a rocket. So effectively, you're doing a rocket jump and a bounce hop at the same time. By now, we've gone over all the bounce setups and variants covered in the course. Before we get ahead of ourselves and start thinking about other setups that aren't covered in the course, we still have a couple more jumps to complete. This first one, you jump off, and then hold crouch, shoot your first bounce, hit the ceiling, and then shoot the second bounce. This last jump looks intimidating, but with the right guidance, it's probably actually easier your first time around than the previous two jumps. The trick here is to jump off, hold crouch, and then time when you're shooting your first rocket. If you have it timed right, you can just hold down M1, that is the shoot button, and you'll be perfectly set up to do the sync. It's actually your first rocket that's going to do the bounce, because you're falling too fast for your second rocket to hit the ground before you will. Let me know if there's anything that's worth adding or needs clarifying. Thanks for watching and have a great day.